Hello and welcome to The Gist. I'm your host, Chris Vetrano, here every week to break down all the things that are happening in pop culture and interviewing the people that make it pop. Today, I'm joined by a friend, a singer, a songwriter, and a certified star. She burst onto the scene as one half of the country duo Steel Magnolia and went on to win millions of hearts on NBC's The Voice. Her voice can heal your soul, and her soulful songs can make you a believer. Please welcome my guest today, my friend, Meghan Linsey. Hey, Meghan.
Hi. Hey, I like that intro.
Thank you. Well, it's all true. I mean, you have had such an incredible career. And, truly, I think a lot of people, especially now, a lot of people know you from The Voice. But your story actually started long before that on another reality TV show called Can You Duet? And it was kind of around the time that American Idol was like the craze everywhere, and Nashville Star had come out, and CMT wanted their version, and they did this Can You Duet? And you and your partner at the time, Joshua Scott Jones, had Steel Magnolia, and you guys went on the show, and it catapulted your career. Tell me a little bit about that experience for you and just like what it was like back then on reality TV and how it kind of changed your life.
I mean, it was great. I was so young, like I
Yeah.
think I was 22 or 23 when we did the show. So it was like I was just such a baby and I didn't have a clue, what I was getting into
Yeah.
at all. So like I literally they plucked me out of the karaoke bar. I used to host karaoke downtown and ended up auditioning for the show, got on. But it was interesting. I feel like obviously like now having done The Voice, I see the differences, as far as just like the budgets and stuff with like
Yeah.
choosing songs and all the production. But at the time, it was just like it was such a cool experience and it really like got me. I wouldn't change anything, it really brought me where I am now. And
Yeah.
got us in front of Scott Borchetta and got a record deal with Big Machine, and it changed my life, and
Yeah.
yeah, wouldn't change much.
Yeah. I mean, it you mentioned the like budget and the songs and stuff, and we've had some of the like original American Idols from like season 1 have come on the show before, and they've said the same thing. They're like, yeah, back in the day, like we had like a handful of songs that we could choose from because
Yeah,
that was what the show could afford to like clear.
yeah,
And they're like, we didn't have the like Celine Dion night and the like various things that you could
Disney.
basically pick. Yeah, you could pick like any song, and so you were kind of like in a box in terms of
Right.
what you could like truly showcase. But obviously, and then you also ended up creating some like really strong friendships on that show with Naomi, who was a judge, and was Scott a judge as well?
He was, yeah, he
Yeah,
was a judge, and then Big Kenny from Big and Rich was a judge, and
yeah.
Naomi Judd. So
Yeah, amazing. And you ended up, being able to kind of keep in touch with her. And I know that she helped kind of mentor you in the industry for many years. And so, as you mentioned, you went on, you got a record deal at Big Machine, you were touring, you guys released your first record. I mean, it's still today, I mean, one of the best, I think, country records that we've had. It really sort of redefined the genre in a lot of ways, like when country was really classic, but turning into this kind of like pop country space. Like you guys sort of meshed that really well together and kind of created a new version of the genre that really was still true to country.
thank you. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
record, man. I love it.
Yeah. And so, but then, obviously things happened personally between you and Josh, and then you ultimately decided to go solo.
Yeah.
And then tell me sort of, I know that there was a lot of years that we're sort of skipping, but tell me about, your decision then to join The Voice, because The Voice at this point you joined in season 8. And I, by the way, can't believe it's like so wild to think that they're in season 25. And
Yeah, it's
it's like,
insane.
it feels like yesterday you were on the show. So
Mhm.
it's just like, wow, we have gone like through that. But they also do like several seasons
They
a
do
year, I
two
think, too.
seasons a year, yeah. So
Yeah.
it
So
definitely
they're
goes quick.
they're racing through them. But so what sort of led you to that decision to to go back onto reality TV and join The Voice?
I mean, honestly, it wasn't even a thought in my head. Like, I wasn't thinking about doing reality TV. I was just like, I finished my last date with Still Magnolia, and I was like, okay, I got out of my record deal. Like, what am I gonna do now? And
Mhm.
I was actually in line at the Panera Bread, and I got a call. And it was one
Amazing.
of the producers for The Voice, and they were like, hey, somebody played us a YouTube video of you. Like, would you be interested in auditioning? And I literally was like about to check out, and I was like, let me call you back. I'm going to check out really quick. And I checked out, and my total, when I checked out, was 1111. Like,
Oh,
I have a tattoo, 1111 on my neck. So it's kind of like a thing for
isn't it?
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, maybe, what else am I doing right now? I'm trying to figure it out. Like, maybe this is a good opportunity to kind of showcase, who I am as me, Megan, not just one half of Steel Magnolia. So, yeah, I called her back. I was like, when do I need to be there? And she's like, Tuesday. And that was like a Friday. And I was like, okay. Like, I just kind of threw myself into it. And it was, I kept going. It was like 9 months later, I was in the finale. So it was a long process.
Yeah, because they record the blinds and do kind of all of that front end stuff really early, and then you
Yeah.
just are kind of in a waiting period until the lives, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. And then they bring you, they do the blind, and then they send you home, and then you come back and you do the like knockouts or whatever. Like, there's a
Right,
couple
right.
rounds that you film. Then they send you back up. Then you come back for the lives. So it's like, and then once you're out for the lives, you're just out there. So
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously did very well. Team Blake, keeping it country. Um, and so tell me a little bit. You mentioned like the budgets and things. What was the difference that you felt from The Voice and Can You Duet from the experience as well? Because obviously on Can You Duet, you left there with a record deal, and The Voice, I mean, for good or bad, obviously, my friend Cassidy Pope, who won, I think it was season 3 that she won.
yeah,
And, she did get a record deal from it, but we've talked, and she's talked about it on this podcast, so I can speak freely that the show really feels like it's catered more to the judges and the personalities that they have in the chairs and just sort of the TV component of it. And it's less about the music and finding kind of America's Next Stars the way that Can You Duet was.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely like the entertainment factor of the show. And I really think like the record deal and like helping artists is kind of an afterthought once you're off the show. Um,
Yeah.
and I think I kind of knew that going in, which was good. Because I was a little older and I've been around and I'd toured and I'd had a deal, and because I kind of like saw the writing on the wall. So,
Right.
while I was shooting and I was coming back and forth, I was making my record, and then I was like, okay, I don't want to win. Like, I really just want to come as close to winning as possible without winning,
Yeah.
because I really didn't want the record deal that came with it. So I feel like I did the best I could have possibly done, to come in second, not get the record deal, to be able to put out music independently. My EP, I had it ready like within weeks. So I put that out, and it was like top 5 on all of iTunes, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Um, I think I tried to just utilize the momentum the best I could,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what the show's good for. It's like it's a platform, and it's kind of it is what you make it, And if
Yeah.
if you're lucky enough to like not have to be tied into that deal,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
No, absolutely. And I think, that's the other thing about the industry that has changed so much. And it's why I have gotten out of the industry from that perspective, and the business is because it's really hard to put talent in front of a label or in front of decision makers. And even though it's better talent than anything else out there, for whatever reason, they're not buying it, and they're not ready to invest in it the way that they used to. And
Right.
that I think has been the big change too, is that now with these platforms like The Voice, and I think the newer version of American Idol, and it's sort of now that it's on ABC, it it really is just that. It's like, it's a platform for people to go on a reality TV program and be in front of millions of people and then do whatever you can to make whatever you can make of it,
Yeah.
rather than a machine that sort of built a Kelly Clarkson, for example.
Right. Yeah. No, I wish I had had the machine, but
Yeah.
not so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I mean, and because I think the other thing, I mean, when you think about like a Kelly Clarkson, I heard her talking about this in an interview recently, that America sort of feels this ownership of her because they sort of created her and she got this deal, and we watched her go from, a waitress, a cocktail waitress, to, now one of the most famous, well-known singers and talk show hosts. And I don't like, I couldn't tell you who all of the winners of The Voice were of the last 25 years. I
No.
obviously know Cassidy. I know you, so I know you were on it. I know a handful of people that have like been on the show, but even haven't made it as far as you and Cassidy did. But like, I couldn't tell you who was winning. Like I
Right.
don't know where they are today. And that's, I think, a testament too of like the fact that you went on with sort of this experience that you had to know, hey, I don't want that deal because I've been in that kind of deal space before and I don't want to go down that road again. I'd rather like own everything coming out of this and
Right.
just put out my music, and but I don't feel like all the artists that go on there or singers that go on there really know what to do, and unfortunately don't make much of it.
Yeah. I tried to tell everybody. I had all the young. I was like the mother, hen on the freaking show. I had all the contestants coming to my room to ask me questions. So I mean, and it's been. I mean, I became really good friends with Mike Parker, who was on. I think he was on Idol, maybe last season or the season before, but he did really well. He came top 10, and like, I mean, he was auditioning for The Voice, and I was auditioning for The Voice, and he didn't really make it far on The Voice, and then he did Idol, and we joke because we have an RV that was sitting in our driveway, and we're like, it's the recovery program for artists coming off a reality show. Because I'm like, you can stay here. We'll write some songs. We'll record some music. It's just like we gotta help each other out. So I'm always trying
I
to like,
actually,
at least give advice to artists that are going through it because it's hard to navigate.
yeah. I mean, I actually love that. I feel like that could like be a whole thing. Like, hey, come and do Megan's boot camp essentially, and like
Right.
come off of reality TV, and I'll like help you sort of navigate the water at this point, because yeah, the tools just aren't there for people. And
Right.
I think one of the other things I wanted to get your thoughts on in the music industry in general, again, you had sort of the platform two different times. Um, but also the music industry from, when you got your first deal in Steel Magnolia and today is a completely different industry. I mean,
Absolutely.
driven by TikTok views, and, it's like, it's wild to me to think about what is driving the decisions at a label.
Mhm.
How for you as an artist, like, is that frustrating? Is that like, how do you feel about that?
I have mixed feelings, honestly, because like, and I've had to like really, it's taken me time to like really kind of almost unlearn. Because like I
Hmm.
had it so ingrained in me, all of these things about the industry and how it works and country radio and like all this stuff was just so, hammered into my head, being on a label and being on Big Machine in particular and doing the radio tour and like feeling like that was so important. And then
Yeah.
now realizing that people are putting out singles every 6 weeks and radio doesn't really matter. And it's like
Hmm.
it's this whole different beast. And so it's like it's really almost like it's almost like starting over, to be honest with you. I've kind of come to that conclusion. But I think there's also things that were ingrained in me as well that have changed that I'm grateful for, which is like, I feel like age used to be such a factor. I feel like
Hmm.
as women, especially, we were told like, oh, don't say you're past, over 29, if you get into your
Hmm.
30s, your career's over. And
Yeah.
so I feel like that has changed a lot. I feel like we're seeing more and more artists that are breaking at like 40 years old, which is super cool. And I
Amazing.
feel
Yeah.
like with Spotify and streaming, it's like, I'll hear things on playlists and don't know who the artist is, but I really like the song. And then it's like, oh, who's that? You know, whereas like, I feel like it almost brings it back to like the time before like television, even when you just hear somebody on the radio and you just were like, oh, I like the song, you know, and it wasn't
Hmm.
about like, you know, who the artist, like what they look like or, you know, anything really other than I just like the music. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like there's negative and positive to it, of course, you know, but I also do think it's like it gives you the opportunity. It's like it's wide open, you know.
Hmm.
Like, oh, I don't know, you know, everybody wants to know like how do you break it? How do you do nobody knows. There's no like
Yeah.
magical formula. It's like you just keep putting yourself out there and hopefully, you know, something hits, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, on one hand, it's great for artists that aren't signed because it does give them the opportunity. It's much easier today to release a single than it was back then. I mean, and you, a couple of clicks on the computer and you could essentially put something out on Spotify and call it
Sure.
yours and, your own independent release. Whereas like that was a lot harder to do back in the day. But it also doesn't have all of the sort of you know help and the things that you're hoping for in terms of like the machine as we called it.
Right.
um that's the kind of thing that I feel like is missing just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just, you know, obviously it's oversaturated as well. It's like there's just so much music and there's so much. There's like, I don't know. I do feel like, you know, some things I don't understand, like some of these TikTok things, I'm like, oh, this is like what's cutting through. But also then I see like really good things cutting through too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're all just trying to
Well,
figure it out.
yeah, and I feel like it's like a little annoying uh, TikTok as a platform is a bit annoying because part of how you kind of hit it big or go viral is like by using these songs or using the thing that's sort of the viral hit at the moment.
Yeah.
And now though all of these labels are starting to like pull out of TikTok, which I find really interesting because I mean, I have had artists that are signed to major labels on the podcast tell me my label won't invest in a single or won't invest in a music video until I
Yeah.
go viral on TikTok. But
Right.
now they're sort of biting
Pulling the
that
music.
hand and pulling their music off and now taking that opportunity away. So it will be interesting to see kind of what are we going back more to the labels taking more kind of control of what is being put out and how it goes sort of quote viral.
Right.
Or are we going to be sort of stuck in this like kind of limbo where nobody really knows what to do next? It'll be interesting to see where that heads.
Right.
One thing, obviously, your career has been very focused in kind of the country genre. Obviously Blake was a big personality for many years. He was the sort of the staple matriarch of The Voice. But we've seen him exit, and now Queen Reba has taken his seat. And this year, Dan and Shay are also in a double chair as double chair coaches from the country genre. And I'm noticing, I watched a couple of the premiere episodes, friends with Dan and Shay, so wanted to see how they showed up on TV and support the guys. But I'm also noticing a lot of the talent coming on is country, and I'm
Right.
wondering if there's a reason for that you have a perspective on. Is are country artists easier to sort of use this platform, or is it because that's like what America primarily is like drawn to? Or from your kind of behind the scenes, like why do you think country is such a focal point now on that show?
It's hard, you know, I think you have to think about the viewership. It's like it's middle America and they're like the ones
Hmm.
that are actually going to watch and vote.
Yeah.
I think that those are the, you know, they listen to country music. So it's like, it makes sense to me.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I've kind of teetered back. I mean, even when I auditioned for the show, I wasn't necessarily like, my whole thing was like, oh, I kind of want to break out of country a little bit on this show. I was kind of thinking about using the platform for that. And then you know, I picked Pharrell
Hmm.
strategically in the beginning, and then I was stolen
Right.
by Blake. And it's like, I mean, I think deep down, you know, my roots, I'm from Louisiana. I'm always been like a very soulful singer. So it makes,
Yeah.
I keep getting pulled back into country music, and it just makes a lot of sense for me with vocally, and just, the way I write songs is very like from a storytelling place, and like, so I think it makes sense that I keep getting pulled back into that. But it is interesting, like just the whole influx of like everybody wants to make a country record. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. I feel like I feel like people are up in arms because there's all these people that think they own the genre, or they're like gatekeepers, and it's like, it's music. Like anybody can do anything. Like,
Yeah.
we also live
Yeah.
in, I also think with Spotify too, like they're with the playlisting, it's not like this divided like country, pop, rock, rap. It's like, it's a mood. Like, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it's like you can do any genre, and then, it's a mix of genres on playlists. So like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like, what does it matter?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, and you really do kind of cross genre. I think, I mean, when you had picked Pharrell, I thought that was like a really strategic move, that you were kind of breaking out of what you were known for. But it did sort of feel as though like being stolen by Blake and then being kind of part of Team Blake felt like you were at home
Yeah,
in that sort of space, because it was, and I was reviewing all of the songs that you sang and on the show, and it was like, well, it was a lot of country, and you do have so much country influence that it was like easy to sort of resonate, and probably, as you said, smart for the audience too, because they could fall in love with you. They love country music. They're still buying records. I mean, they're the like country fans are kind of the last sort of survivors of people that are actually buying records and CDs and things
for
like
sure.
that. And so it's not a bad move, but I was like, wow, this is really, and I didn't know if maybe it was just Reba and Dana Shea being on it, but I was like, wow, this feels like it's very country heavy. And even the like artists that you can tell they're not super country in their day to day, they're like coming on with sort of I want to be on Reba's team, or I want to be with Team Dan and Shay, because they have this, they could help me sort of
Yeah,
hone in
break
on this sort of country
break into
space.
that scene. Yeah.
So I was like, this feels like this is becoming really strategic as part of the show, which I was curious what your thoughts are, obviously being uh, in that world for now many seasons. You've seen a lot of people come and go.
Long time. Been doing this forever.
Yeah. Do you still get to like keep in touch with Blake or anyone from the show as you're kind of continuing on? Or do you feel like that chapter sort of closed for you?
I mean, if I were to see Blake at an award show, I would say hi. Or if I go visit the voice set, like I had lunch with Gwen on set, like, I don't know, a couple years after I was on the show. I mean, I do think like I could probably like in that capacity, but I'm not like texting with him. I'm not like, hey dude, listen to my new single. It's just not
Yeah.
like that kind of relationship. Um,
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, look how many seasons he's done. He's probably got like a million people hitting him up like, hey, listen to my new single.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, everybody's super sweet. Like if I see anybody in person, it's like, hey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the Nashville way, anyways, too. And it was
Sure.
probably that before you even went on the show, being able to kind of like be at a show and say hello to anyone that you kind of know. Well, let's talk about you and kind of what you've obviously been up to since the show. I know you've got a new song, Gemini Rising, that I've seen it on all of your reels. And so you're doing the thing to like put it in front of us. And I love it. So tell us about that and kind of like what else you're working on.
Man, I've just been, I've been writing. I think that I kind of got out. I wouldn't say like I never completely stopped doing music, but I did take some time to just kind of breathe and like try to figure out like, who am I? What do I want to do? It's like I feel like all these, like I've had so many labels put on me as far as like a big machine artist, Steel Magnolia, girl from The Voice. It's like I'm like, okay, like I'm 38 now. So like I'm still trying to do music, but what does that look like for me? And
Mhm.
what is really authentic and honest? And so I've just kind of taken my time. I've been really mindful, just trying to get my energy right, and writing songs. And I really I find that I absolutely love writing songs. I love performing. I don't love doing 200 dates a year like I was doing with Soul
Hmm.
Magnolia, but I do love
Yeah.
going out and meeting people and performing. So as long as I love it, I'm always gonna do it, you know?
Yeah.
For me, it's just trying to figure out like, okay, what connects. And I think what for me always seems to be true is just being honest and then just singing to the camera. Like for me, like I was trying to, I'm like, oh, what should I do for TikTok? Like, do I have to like, this is the song of the summer, you know, like everybody's like, check it out. Like it's not
Yeah.
me, you know, that's just not who I am. And so like I think for me it's just been more like, you know, my voice and singing songs and trying to be authentic and real and writing things that I'm going through. And I feel like when things resonate with me, they automatically resonate with other people because you
Yeah.
know we're all just trying to figure life out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. You know, I'm just trying to put out music and do my thing and you know, I'm trying not to overthink it too much because I've definitely done that in the past where I've just overthought it and gotten my own way and try not to do that now.
Yeah, which is, I mean, which is amazing. And I think, you know, that authenticity is something that I think so many artists lose in this like TikTok space because, like you said, it's like, how do you make something go viral? And like, that doesn't feel authentic to me. Or I'm going to sit and do the song of the summer and come up with all these like various like things that are going viral and I've got to like be on trend. And it just, but then, you know, I think it was like Maren Morris or it was someone that just was like, that's not who I am. And I'm not gonna like, I can't do it because if I do that, then I'm not doing this because I love it anymore.
Right.
And I mean, you are someone that obviously was born to do this because like that voice that you have like is unmatched and that is what you were given to give to the world. And so I love that you're just like staying authentic and because it's easy to sort of release a song, like you can put out, you know, Gemini Rising is like super fun and it, you know, has, it could be the song of the summer, by the way. It has like that vibe. Um, but it's like it's a fun thing and you're like, hey, I feel like this is like who I want to be right now and I want to like put it out and give this to the audience that has been with me. And that's a wonderful thing to do is just like
Yeah.
remind people that you're still doing it and that you love it and do it because you love it, not because of any other reason.
Yeah. I'm just to that point. I also think like with the industry, like I think I got very burnt just on the just just the way that things operated in Nashville for so long and the people that were
Yeah.
in power and the writing, you know, I've talked about this before, but it's like I consider myself like a songwriter first. And like I would go
Hmm.
into songwriting, you know, sessions. It would be like two good old boys that are like, oh, well, where's the song? We'll put your name on it. And it's like I just you know, it's like I hate it.
Yeah.
It drove me crazy, you know. And so
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm kind of I'm almost like starting over. Like I've been writing with like a lot of young people, like people that are starting to come in and take over. You know, I mean the guard is changing, you know, and
Hmm.
so now I'm like, oh, these kids don't really. I mean, they kind of know me, but they don't know me, you know. And it's
Yeah.
almost better. It's almost
Yeah.
better. It's like I'm trying. I'm just like, okay, I'll write, I'll, you know, get in writing rooms. And feel much more, I feel much more respected, like going into writes now. And like people are like, they listen to me. Like it's not, I don't feel like I'm fighting to have my voice heard anymore.
Yeah.
Where for so many years, I felt like so almost demoralized in a way
Yeah.
in sessions and stuff with men. And
Hmm.
I feel like that has definitely shifted and that's exciting to me.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing to hear because obviously, you know, when I was in the industry, it was even in managing male acts, which is primarily I had one female, but it was and females I honestly didn't want to manage because of the things that they got asked to do. To be
Yeah.
quite frank, I mean, it
Yeah.
was like I knew that my other friends or colleagues in the industry were having to ask their female acts to like do things that just didn't feel I could never have asked a female artist to, butter up a radio guy or do it, any of the, like, go just flirt a little bit and do these
Yeah.
things, like, can't do it. And that's putting it mildly. And, it was a really tough sort of thing. But even like for, male acts, it was like there wasn't respect for the artist, because especially in Nashville,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you felt this way, is that it felt like it was being run by the songwriters. And so there was like this group of songwriters that felt like they had the ownership of the industry. And so, like you said, it was like, oh no, we don't want that song, even though it's an incredible song written by the artist themselves. And we could have, a song, they're a very personal song to them. We'd rather some, like, kitschy thing
Right.
that's like hot right now, written by this, like, mega songwriter, to be on the project.
Yeah.
And it was just like that. And you kind of, I'm sure as an artist, I wasn't in that seat, but I'm sure that as an artist, you can lose that authenticity in that process as well, of like, I don't even know who I am anymore, because I'm
Right.
being told to do this thing,
Yeah.
and it's not really who I want to be, but I'm told if I do it, that's what it's going to, like, give
Yeah.
me the autonomy to do what I want to do next.
Yeah. And I did years of that. Cut
Yeah.
this song, do this, like, don't say that. Like, how this is how you brush your teeth. I mean, basically, and it's like I I'm definitely too old for that. I know I'm not in my 20s anymore because I'm just like, yuck. Like, I'm not,
Yeah.
I won't do that. I just won't.
Yeah. You've got the ick.
The-
Yeah. But you're not too old, by the way. You're not too old to, like, still be doing it. And I'm glad that you still are. But you had talked about this changing of the guards. Tell me kind of like who today. I know that, like, back in the day, you had a lot of kind of country influences. Obviously, we talked about some of the people that have mentored you, but like, who are you influenced by today as you're kind of like in this changing of the guard, and also as you kind of reinvent your authenticity?
Yeah. I'm really inspired by like all these young writers that are moving to town that are doing it. It's like there is this influx of like kids like in their 20s that don't have any affiliation with a publishing company, don't and they're putting on writing camps. They're like, "Hey, will you come write with us? We're going to like write for this 21-year-old kid for the next 3 days, and they'll just have a studio." And I've done it a couple times now, and I'm like, that's
Yeah.
so cool. Like, it has nothing to do with the label, it has nothing to do with the publishing company. It's just them like making things happen. And that's very much my spirit. Like, I'm very much an entrepreneur. I'm very much like, we'll DIY it, we'll do it
Mhm.
ourselves. I mean, I did the Kelly Clarkson show last year, and I'm up at 3 a.m. like building my set that I'm gonna, we filmed my performance in my studio to send to
Yeah.
LA for them to play. But it's like, I'm very much like of that mindset. And so that to me is very inspiring. It gives me a lot of hope, for the future of country music and the industry, because it's like, that's what kids are doing now. They're like, okay, I'll just do it myself and I'll put it out myself.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, it's like, it's easy to release singles now. So you can do that.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it was almost frowned upon before, I remember with Still Magnolia, they didn't have a budget for us to do a video for our song Bulletproof. And so we had one day off in the middle of the tour, and we're like, okay, we're going to fund it ourselves. We hired a director. We
Mhm.
did it all, turned it
Yeah.
into the label. And it was like, they were livid. Like, they were so mad at us for doing that because they didn't have anything to do with it. And like, how could
Yeah.
we? Do we not trust our team? And it's like, no, we just like
No.
literally just want some autonomy. Like, we just want to have some say in our artistry. And so it's really cool to just be able to like be creative and not worry about that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that story. And I mean, and it is funny. Like, what are you mad about? We just gave you like free content. Like,
Yeah.
and now content is king. And so it's like the fact that you guys did that because you just wanted to, because you were passionate about a song that you wanted other people to be passionate about. And like, that's what this should all be about. So that's the very cool about the camps and kind of um, the younger kids that are kind of coming in and sort of taking control, which I love that. I love to
I love
hear
it,
that,
man.
because
It's cool.
Nashville is in need of that. Nashville is kind of late to the game on all things, but I think especially like in the good old boy town, it's like we
Yeah.
need something more refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the songwriting camp with this 21-year-old kid the week of CRS, and I'm like, I would much rather be here.
Yeah.
I don't want to be at CRS, man. Like, it's
Yeah.
just my friend's younger daughter. She's like in her 20s, and she was there, and she was texting me, and she was like, Megan, she was like, it's a drunken sleaze fest, and these old men are trying to kiss me, and I'm like, they're still doing that? Like,
Yeah.
what?
That's,
That's insane to me.
uh, yeah,
So
that sounds
I don't
about
know.
right.
I just don't want to be. I don't care about that anymore. It's actually very liberating to like not care about that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just want to do my own.
Yeah. I mean, it would, I think back, like if only when we were younger, if we had that sort of ability to do that, because I think back to the Red Door days, and when everyone in Music Row sort of went to Red Door and in Midtown, and
Yeah.
it was like this young group of people and artists and music industry like hopefuls and all of this stuff, that it was like we were just all trying to conform to the good old
Yeah.
boy way instead of like shaping our own way. And
Yeah.
had we been brave enough to do it. But
Yeah.
um well, we talk a lot about pop culture, and sort of like we talk a lot about like TV and film, and I talk a lot about Bravo on here. Would love, like, outside of music, sort of what is influencing you in pop culture, or what are you sort of drawn to today?
Oh my god. I don't know. This is like I'm gonna give you the. I mean, I don't know if this is the right answer, but honestly, like I just love like when I'm not doing music or I'm not like doing something where I have to have my head in it. I honestly just love to just I love dating shows. Like I love Love Is Blind. I love The Bachelor.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I don't know. Those are probably my two guilty pleasures. Like I just really I don't know. I like diving into other people's lives because it's fun, to get out of your head, and kind of
Have you seen this couple to thruple?
no. What is
It's on
that?
Peacock.
Oh
It's
no. I thought I'd
it's
love
like
that.
yeah, it's like or not Love Is Blind. What's the other? Love Island.
Okay.
I've only watched one season of Love Island. My friend was like, "You will love it," and so I got hooked in like 3 episodes, and then didn't realize that their seasons are like 75 episodes long, and I
Oh,
was
it's
like,
insane.
"Oh
Yeah.
my gosh!" Like I have to watch so much of this show. Um, but no, it's only, and I think Couple to Thruple is only like 8 episodes, maybe 10. But it's basically like Love Island, where a couple comes into the island, in they're looking to thruple up, and then they have like singles and they pick them, and then each night they sort of like go on dates to decide, like, is this someone that we want to be part. I thought, like, when I first heard it, I was like, oh, I mean, to each their own, in terms of
Yeah.
like, love who you love, and if thruples are your kind of thing, like, great. Not for me, but so I was like, I don't know that I would enjoy that. So my friends were like, you have to watch it, you will love it. And I did. I got obsessed. I was like binging through it.
Oh
So
my god.
if you like dating shows, it might be one
I
worth
am gonna have to
worth
get on
investing in.
it.
Yeah,
That's
it's on
so fun.
Peacock, and yeah, it's wild. There's just like so much going on in that. I watched like one episode. The Bachelor's like one of those other, it's like The Voice. They've had so many
I know.
seasons that I'm
I know.
scared to dip in, because then if I like it too much,
I know.
I watched it when Wells Adams, who
Yeah.
is a, Nashville staple back in the day, a friend of mine. And, so when he was on it, I of course watched that, and I could see myself very much like being very interested in a show like that. But
Mhm.
I'm like, that's too much of an investment. I can't like dive into it now. It's too much.
Right. Yeah, I kind
Yeah.
of look at it like because I have girls over and we watch it. Like it's kind of our
Yeah.
thing. So it's just like it's a good excuse to have like a weekly you know girls' night. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Wine and
enjoy
The
it.
Bachelor. Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you did you watch the Golden Bachelor?
I tried.
Didn't like it.
I
No.
didn't love it. I don't know. I thought it was kind of boring, but that's probably terrible to say. I don't know. It
No, I
wasn't
mean,
my it wasn't my favorite.
I only had heard things about it. Again, people were like, and I heard lukewarm things. I heard they're doing a Golden Bachelorette.
Bachelorette. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe
Maybe
that might be a
I
little
think
more.
I'd like it if like the older woman was the one choosing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. I mean, at least with the Golden Bachelor, it wasn't like they were picking up 20-year-olds because
I
that's
like that. I wish they do something in the middle. Like, I feel like The
yeah,
Bachelor now, like, there's all these girls that are like 22, and I'm like,
you're
nobody's
not
getting,
ready to get
like, I mean,
married.
people are getting married at 22, don't get me wrong, but like, should
Yeah.
you? I
No,
feel,
I mean,
I don't know,
not from someone you meet on reality TV. Like,
no,
like
I feel like, why don't we do a Bachelor that's like people in their 30s and 40s? Like, that would be
yeah,
exciting to me. Like, doing
yeah,
midlife, whatever, Bachelor.
yeah, definitely. Well, awesome. So Gemini Rising out now,
Yep.
and then you're just gonna keep writing, and when the wind blows, you may give us more in the future.
Yeah, I have more. So I'm trying to like,
Oh,
I mean, I am trying to put out like a single every 6 to 8 weeks at this point, just because that's kind of the model. But I also, not because I'm trying to force songs, but I just have so many. Like, I have so much
yeah.
stuff ready to go. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just plan it and put stuff out, and you know, just keep putting content out and songs.
Yeah. Well, please do, because we love your voice and we need always more of it. Um, so we'll tell people where they can find you and keep up with all of your new music and just stay connected with you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, once the streaming platforms and everything, Spotify and Apple Music and all that, it's just my name, Meghan Linsey, and then Instagram at Meghan Linsey. And I am on TikTok. My TikTok is at Meghan Linsey Sings. I'm still trying to build it. So go follow me and
Yeah.
like some stuff, okay? Um,
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, that's hard. Building TikTok is so, it's crazy. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. I'm figuring that out.
Yeah, it's a beast, and Cassidy has like given me a couple of tips here and there of like, oh, this is the type of stuff you should do, because I'm like, I don't really know. I'm not going to go do something silly on that platform and
Right.
try to like go viral, because that's not who I am. I'm not a comedian, and I can't do silly things for a like.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's pretty wild once you kind of like crack the algorithm a little bit. It's like, oh, okay, I kind of get it now, but it takes a minute to kind of
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
it going. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate this, and I appreciate this conversation, because like when before we even started recording, we had talked about how long it had been since I've seen you, and
Too long.
now I just want to see you more, and I hope that we grab coffee or
Yeah.
a drink sometime soon, because I'd love to keep caught up with you. And but I'm glad that we got to do this for the podcast and tell folks all about what you are working on. But for all of you out there, and also Meghan, I've said it many times, but you do have one of just the most like magical voices that I have ever heard, and I've always been such a fan of you. And we sort of worked together in various capacities, sort of side by side at times, and you are just such a fantastic person, and so I just want to give you your flowers in front of the audience.
I feel like it's mutual. So I was excited. I was excited to hear from you. I was like, I would love to do this and see you. And we definitely have to get coffee or something and just catch up.
I know, yes. And yeah, I thought of you because I started this podcast last year, and I was like, oh, I've definitely gonna have Meghan on. And I was trying to like TikTok, trying to figure out like, what is the podcast even gonna be?
Yeah.
And yeah, and then as I was putting that stuff together, I was like, oh, Gemini Rising, we gotta get Meghan on. So thank you again for coming and doing it. Awesome. Well, for all of you out there, thank you guys for listening. Please go follow Meghan. Listen to all of her incredible songs. She's got so much, and the range is crazy. So check it out. And then as always, you can find me at CM Vetrano. I'm on most of the social platforms. But don't forget, rate and subscribe the episodes that you let us know like you want more conversations with Meghan, and maybe she'll be back again in the future. But until next week, thank you guys so much for listening. Bye.